Let's bring in our next guest. Larry Elder is a nationally syndicated talk radio host and a former California candidate for governor. So I guess you understand this delay. I mean, they've got to be quadruple checking things, but people are concerned about the way that ballots come in and that everybody gets a ballot. What do you think about the election system there in California and the race so far?
Thank you, Edie and Bob, for having me. It's a nightmare, and they've designed it this way. You know, Donald Trump has often referred to the Carter-Baker Commission as saying that mail-in balloting is the easiest way to commit fraud. Trump has suggested that they said it should be outlawed. They didn't do that, but they said there should be safeguards. And one of the safeguards is the elimination, said the commission, of what we now call ballot harvesting, where you can get somebody else's ballot and turn it in. At one point in California, if you were disabled and a family member turned it in, that was okay. Then a family member could turn it in even if you weren't disabled. Now, whether you're disabled or not, a third party can turn in your ballot. It's absolutely outrageous. And that's one of the tools the Democrats used several years ago to flip a whole bunch of Republican seats in Orange County to Democrats. So it's an absolute outrage. And the Secretary of State said the counting could take another 35 days. Are you kidding me?
Larry, that is truly unbelievable that you even have to say that. 35 days. Well, I mean, I don't even get it here, what we're even talking about. Now, when it comes to the actual election, for Governor Steve Hilton, L.A. Mayor Spencer Pratt, I keep looking online. Their margin, it's kind of shrinking down. Some of the other Democrats, they're gaining a little bit of ground as we go each day. Are you worried about them getting through?
Of course I am, but I don't think that the gap can be shrunk so much that I think Hilton's going to be boxed out or Pratt's going to be boxed out, but it is possible. Look, even if Hilton and Pratt make it to the general, the question is whether or not the voters will stop voting routinely for the Democrat Party. L.A. has not elected a Republican mayor since 1997. That's 30 years. And statewide, no Republican has won office, no matter what it is statewide, in 20 years. The question is, as Spencer Pratt says, what about these zombie homeless people that are defecating and pooping? What about the zombie voters that step around the poop and the urine and pull that lever routinely for the Democrat Party? Highest unemployment in the nation, highest gas prices in the nation, highest state income tax in the nation, highest gas tax in the nation, twice that of the national average for a home price. I can go on and on and on. The question is, when are Californians going to say we've had enough? We're fed up. And the answer to that, we don't know.
Is part of that possibly because the people who have the ability to are moving out? I mean, you see the needles on the street, you see the garbage on the street, you see the people, as you said, defecating on the street, massive homeless camps in the middle of Beverly Hills. I mean, it's just such a scene that, are you going to be left, and have you already been, with just kind of the people who can't get out?
Edie, after I ran in the recall, after I ran in the recall election in 2021, I went to Key West to kind of hang out. And I was not able to pay for my own drinks, not able to pay for my own dinner because people who were living there said, hey, I would have voted for you had I lived there. I would have voted for you had I lived there. I said, that's why I lost. All my voters left and moved to Key West.
Yeah. Well, Larry, I'll offer a suggestion. So heavily Democratic in California, in those big cities, have anything to do with the education system, what they're teaching kids, what they're indoctrinating them with, do you think?
I think that's a good part of it. Our school system is near the bottom. We spend more every single year because the money we spend for schools is on automatic pilot in terms of our state budget. Yet our kids cannot read and do math at levels of proficiency. So, there's a really good chance that the dumber you are, the more likely it is you don't really realize you should connect the dots. If you're concerned about the cost of living, you're concerned about affordability, concerned about the price of a home, all the things you're concerned about, crime, homelessness, maybe, just maybe, it has to do with the policies that you have routinely voted for and you should reconsider.
It is really amazing. And as you mentioned, you take a look at the reading scores, the kids who can read at grade level, almost negligent. You had the University of California system, 600 professors saying, we're getting kids who can't, we've got to teach them middle school math at Berkeley.
They got to teach them how to read and do regular algebra now.
Yeah, perhaps it is the education system. People just don't know better.
And you're right about those 600 professors. What they said is we should reintroduce the SAT because kids weren't doing well on the SAT. They wanted, quote unquote, disadvantaged students to go to UC system. They got rid of it. And this professor said they can't read, they can't write, they can't do basic math. We're flunking them out. These are 600. All of them are liberal. They probably were okay with eliminating the SAT a few years ago. We've done this now for 6 years, and it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Say hypothetically, Spencer Pratt, Steve Hilton, they get through. You're going to have to convince out in the state of California a lot of Democrats to vote for a Republican the first time probably in their lives. Talk about that battle, that uphill, the kind of messaging and the aggressiveness of a campaign I think you got to run in order to do that.
Well, that's the problem. When I ran, President Trump reached out to me, and I said, Mr. President, with all due respect, they're going to make this about you. Well, they did anyway. At that time, I had taken one picture in my life of President Trump. They showed it over and over and over again. Both of us had our thumbs up. I could count the ridges. I've seen it so often. And what it said was, stop the Republican takeover. It didn't say Gavin Newsom's doing a great job on COVID, doing a great job on crime, doing a great job on homelessness, great job on fire management, on water retention, nothing like that. They just said, stop the Republican takeover. Steve Hilton has embraced Trump's endorsement of him, and they're going to make this all about Donald Trump. Regarding the LA mayor, again, we have not elected a Republican mayor in 30 years. Karen Bass ran against a billionaire who spent $100 million of his own money. His name was Rick Caruso, very smart guy, real estate developer, had all sorts of great plans for low-cost homelessness, and very effective debater. And he lost by 10 points. He outspent her 10-1, lost by 10 points because all the unions got behind her because she's given them all raises. They're going to get behind her again. The LA Times endorsed Karen Bass. They've stayed out of this one so far, but it wouldn't surprise me if they endorse Karen Bass again. So this is what Spencer Pratt is facing. It's a massive, massive machine, and they're going to kick into action if he's one of the top two finishers.
Yeah, but he is running a different kind of campaign. You know, he's certainly hitting into the social media aspect of it pretty well, and in a different way, highlighting his opponent's failures.
He's just running as an LA guy.
Yeah,
You know, not really making
maybe
it
that's
hyper
gonna work
local,
for him.
hyper about Los Angeles. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Larry Elder, for joining us.
My pleasure.
You bet.